Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terence Crawford's case, he's to find his way to Keith Thurman. I know what you're saying, but I'll tell you this. Hold your horses, open up your ears, and let's try to take the emotion out of the judgment on Keith Thurman and the fact that he's been inactive. Check this out, right? Terence Crawford is, in my opinion, a lose-lose situation. He always somehow ends up in a lose-lose situation. The man just beat Errol Spence. He's in a lose-lose situation. And I'm telling you, for Terence Crawford to finally be somehow validated, not just by certain segments of the boxing community, I'm talking about the entire boxing community. And I'm talking as a whole, right? I think he needs Keith Thurman on his record, all right? I'm just go ahead and say it. I know nobody else is probably going to say it. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Now, for those of you who are sitting there right now, probably shooting spitballs at your computer screen, right? Or your little funny little iPhone, or some of y'all probably got the old school flip phones, right? Understand this, man. With Errol Spence, I just did a video about Errol Spence. And I really believe Crawford looked super spectacular because Crawford is just that great of a fighter with a great team. I've been watching the videos on Crawford and Bomac and the things they said and how they've been studying Spence. My boy Mills came back out here and kind of reminded me like, hey, they broke down, they deconstructed everything about Spence to make the fight look easy. And I agree with everything my boy Mills said. I understand what Bomac said. I understand Crawford, his talent. And I understand everyone out there. Because remember, I picked Crawford to win. I didn't pick Crawford to win because I said Errol Spence was damaged from the car accident, or Errol Spence had neurological damage, or Errol Spence is going to be dehydrated. That's not why I picked Crawford to win. I picked Crawford to win because I said Spence is going to start with that pressure, volume punching, and at some point, Crawford is going to exploit him. And I think early in the fight, it's Crawford's best opportunity. And I said if he is able to punch with Spence and catch him and counter him, Spence is in trouble. And that's exactly what happened. However, after watching the fight, I kind of knew that Crawford was going to get the win just because of the styles, right? But I do kind of feel like, not taking anything from Crawford, right? Because remember, when I made the prediction, it had nothing to do with Errol Spence being injured. It had to just do with the styles. And that's why Crawford won. But there's something lingering, man, around that fight. I can't put my thumb on it. And none of these other content creators can. Matter of fact, they'll say anything on these YouTube channels, man. That's why I can't watch them. I watch the Fight Hub and those guys who go and interview fighters because, we get some good information about what's going on with fighters and their lives and in their careers. But these content creators, man, they'll be blowing smoke up your cockhole, But let's just come back to Spence and Crawford. As a result of Spence that whole fight week talking about the weight, making the weight. I had 154, the weight. This was like the beginning of the damn fight week. I even did a video like, what? Something wrong here. That's why I did another video saying, hey, this ain't looking good for Spence. He keeps talking about the weight. He's always talked about, getting down to 147 is difficult. However, he's never made a consistent and deliberate effort to complain about his weight, especially during fight week. So that told me he was struggling. So anyway, we saw how the fight went. But for Crawford, it sucks because, he's not getting the credit he deserves for that Spence win. He's not getting it. It's not because I say so. Go out there and look at the videos that are being created, man. Not just by these bozo content creators who don't know a goddamn thing about boxing. They're out here watching what someone else creates or taking something and then they come and trying to jump and create a video real quick. There's no originality to these dudes, man. So forget what they're saying. Just pay attention to what some of the guys who would trust, like maybe even Sean Porter and other people, man. They, let's listen to what some of these other guys are saying, and these experts and the Teddy Atlases, just some of everyone out there. Something just seemed wrong there about Errol Spence. Crawford's not getting the credit he deserves. Okay? He's even going on doing interviews, Breakfast Club, Sway in the Morning, all kind of channels, CBS. And during some of these interviews, that question's coming up because the people conducting the interview, doing their due diligence, getting their facts, getting their information to make sure they can put together a really healthy dialogue with Terence Crawford, and that question comes up. Do you think there's something wrong with Errol Spence? The rumors are this. People believe this. And Crawford handles it like a champ, man. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't get caught up into that. The only thing Crawford says is he thinks Spence should take his time, return to the ring when he's ready. Don't force nothing. It's not a matter of if Crawford wants to give him a rematch. He's obligated. It's a contractual obligation to give Errol Spence a rematch. Okay? So it's not a matter of, it's not going to happen. No, Spence says he wants it. It's going to happen. And for those of you out there, bozos, who are saying, Spence is ducking Crawford now. What are y'all talking about? Oh, Crawford's ducking Spence. He doesn't want to take the rematch at 154. Yeah, I tell you what, man. Yeah, I swear, man. I swear, yo. Some of the people who saying this stuff, that's why I can't watch the content, because I really get upset. My PTSD flares up, you know what I mean? I may end up running up and down the road and start biting people, man, with all the stupid stuff people say out here on YouTube. But understand this. The rematch has to happen. Crawford's not ducking anyone. But I'll tell you this. The real fight Crawford needs, because since everyone wants to talk about Boots Ennis, that ain't the fight he needs. It's not Boots Ennis. I think Boots Ennis has all the ability, all the physical attributes to make that fight hard for Crawford. The difference is maturity. And I saw something, I don't know what I was watching last night, because I'm so busy with my kids, man. And in between playing Pikmin 4 with my 6-year-old, he'll run to the restroom, then I'll take out my phone and look to see, who's looking at my videos or whatever. I saw something saying, just because a fighter is ready, I think they were talking about Boots Ennis, just because Boots Ennis is ready for the big stage and the fight with Crawford doesn't mean he's going to win. And I was like, boom, spot on. I can't remember where I saw that. It was I read it. I don't know if it was I don't know where the hell I read that at. But I was like, damn, that's perfectly worded. And I'll go ahead and say that. Boots Ennis is ready for the big fight with somebody. It doesn't mean he's going to win. And what's going to happen with Crawford, he beats Spence, he's not getting any credit, right? Not the credit he deserves. He beats Boots, he won't get the credit he deserves, right? And Crawford is aware of this. So it's like, well, who does he fight? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's say Charlo goes up and fights Canelo, and Charlo beats Canelo, which I actually think Charlo is going to be able to pull it off as long as he stays disciplined and boxes. But then Charlo strips all that weight off and comes back down to 154, and then Crawford beats him. They're going to say, he was a weight drain. So come down, Keith Thurman. Let me tell you something. People out here talking about Keith Thurman's a nobody. Man, y'all don't follow boxing. You must have just come on. But one thing I'll say is these guys have been boxing for a while. Let's just take it back to 2012. Talking about Keith Thurman. He got in there, man, clipped Carlos Quintana. Then went on to fight, a couple fights, and then got into Soto Kara. Soto Kara gave him hell, man. Keith Thurman knocked him out. Julio Diaz, Bundu, you know what I'm saying? Collazo gave him the business with that body shot, but he came back and stopped him. Sean Porter, good fight. Thurman hurt him several times in that fight. Danny Garcia, good fight. Thurman hurt him several times. Josecito Lopez, you know what happened there? One decision, that's what Keith Thurman was away from the ring. You got to understand, man, in 2015, Keith Thurman fought twice. In 2016, he fought once. 2017, he fought once. And then 2 years later, in 2019, he gets in the ring with Josecito Lopez. This is where the ring rust the inactivity started to, it showed up in Keith Thurman. And then here it is, in a few months later, he fought Manny Pacquiao. He looked better, but he just was a step slower than what he was when he was fighting the Guerreros, when he was fighting the Garcias, the Porters, the Calazos, the Soto Carases. He was just a step slower. And Pacquiao was able to put that Filipino power on him. And, Keith Thurman lost, unfortunately. Then he came back and fought Barrios and went a full 12 rounds. And he got hurt in that fight, too. So what this tells you about Keith Thurman is, although he hasn't been active, his resume speaks for itself. But at the same time, Keith Thurman's inactivity has hurt him because he's been going the distance. The knockouts and stuff has stopped since 2015. That's not good for Keith Thurman. But the thing is this, let's forget about the knockouts and all that. Style-wise, why do you think he was able to come back in that Manny Pacquiao fight the way he did? Matter of fact, a lot of people think he won that fight because it's like I call it fancy feet. Other people call it dancing feet. And some people call it the ring generalship. His footwork, man, his IQ. Keith Thurman keeps he locks in on his opponents. He's watching everything you're doing. And then he's looking to pull the trigger. Keith Thurman is one of the few boxers who can punch while moving. There aren't many out there. Usyk can do it. Lomachenko can do it. Keith Thurman can do it. Terence Crawford can do it. You know how hard it is to not have your feet set but still be able to punch? But Keith Thurman can do it. And that's why Keith Thurman, in any fight, for me, it'd be hard for me to sit there and say Keith Thurman's just going to get knocked out cold. Now, what I will tell you is he just has this desire inside of him that he knows he can get hurt. And we've seen him get buzzed upstairs, buzzed downstairs. But he has this intestinal fortitude where it's like you really got to kill Keith Thurman. Like he just isn't willing to take a loss. That loss he took to Pacquiao, Pacquiao had to, he had to claw at that victory over Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman wasn't trying to lose a fight. And I just think with Keith Thurman and Terence Crawford, there's not going to be any excuse if Keith Thurman will come back, probably get a fight. I don't know who he's fighting now because you just don't know what's going on with the secret society involved, the fly on the wall. He's supposed to come back and fight Yugas. That's kind of quieted down. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes where they're kind of taking a look at their cards and shuffling their cards and making the cards look nice in the hand, and they're saying, okay, this is the play we want to make. And all of a sudden, Keith Thurman, boom, is the play they make to face not maybe Boots, or maybe he goes straight into Crawford now. You just don't know what's going to happen. But what I'm saying is I would like to see Keith Thurman get another fight, maybe 2 fights. Dominate. And I'm telling you, all's forgotten. Nobody's going to remember nothing about inactivity. Keith Thurman's back. And Keith Thurman is to go on and fight Crawford. And he's going to get credit for that. And if Crawford can beat him, Crawford will finally get credit for a name at 147 pounds. You got to understand, man, Keith Thurman, when you look at him weighing in at these bouts, he's weighing in at 146, 147, 146 and a half. Keith Thurman's standing damn near 5'10". He's a tall boy. I thought Keith Thurman was like 5'8". Take the stuff they have on here with a grain of salt. Keith Thurman's standing about 5'9 and a half, 5'10". So, that's a lot of height. His reach, Crawford got some reach on him, and that's what I think would ultimately be the deciding factor. But then again, Keith Thurman's not going to be there to be hit. He's going to move. He may run a whole lot, but he can stop and fire on a dime. But the bottom line is, with his name, I think Crawford gets a lot more credit for that name than him fighting Boots. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Who out there has Keith Thurman's name on their resume with a victory? Remember, I was saying this like about a year ago, that Crawford should fight Thurman, beat Thurman, and now when he comes to sit down to negotiate with Earl Spence, he's like, all right, Spence, you got Garcia, you got Porter on your resume, I got Thurman, and I got Porter. So now it balances out. But, things happen the way they happen. I do know for a fact that Keith Thurman wasn't necessarily trying to jump in the ring with no damn Terence Crawford unless he's going to get financially compensated handsomely. So I get it. the politics and all that crap. But right now, I'm telling you, for Terence Crawford, this is my opinion, to really get credit for a big win, he's not getting it for Errol Spence. I don't think he'll get it for Boots, but I think he'll get it for Keith Thurman. Matter of fact, everybody needs Keith Thurman right now. He's a last man standing, man. Garcia is doing whatever the hell he's doing with 154 and catch weights. Porter's gone. Errol Spence, who knows what's going to go on with Errol Spence, to be honest with you. Really, the only one really there is Crawford and Thurman. They might as well make that fight and get it out the way and let Crawford go on and do whatever the hell he's going to do. But that's a fight that needs to happen. Because Keith Thurman still got a pulse. He's still got life in him. And he's still looking to get busy, man. Now, for those of you who are saying, man, you don't know what you're talking about, Hood Champion. He doesn't need no Keith Thurman. Okay, well, when you look here at, Box Live, you tell me who on here Crawford can fight to get credit for. Cody Crowley? He already fought a Vanessian. Who? Roman Villa? Who's going to give him credit for beating Roman Villa after Boots did what Boots... That was horrible what Boots did to him. What, Rashidi Ellis? Get out of here. Boots beat Villa, Villa beat Ellis. Crawford can't fight Ellis. Rocha? Come on now, let's not take it to the stupid. Stan Eunice? Who the hell's Stan Eunice? I love Stan Eunice, but come on, man. He's been out the ring for how long? He's just basically a style that you come straight towards Crawford. Crawford have a field day with Stan Eunice. Don't get me wrong, Stan Eunice is tough, but styles make fights. Ortiz Jr. is an interesting foe at 154. If Ortiz Jr. can prove that he can get healthy and make it into the damn ring without ending up with this rhabdomyolysis and going into the hospital, I don't know. Out of everyone in boxing, Errol Spence, I got a lot of concern about Errol Spence. But I wonder about this Ortiz Jr. That's just crazy to me. But nonetheless, Ortiz Jr. really seems to be the guy that can really, do something, man. 147, or not even 147, but at the time it was 147 and 154. He can scrap. And Boots Ennis, styles make fights. I don't know. Boots just needs that opportunity. But again, for Terence Crawford, out of those names we just mentioned, I think Ortiz Jr., but that's at 154, or Keith Thurman at 147. Those are the names that a guy like Terence Crawford really needs. But the bigger name is Keith Thurman. Everyone knows who the hell Keith Thurman is. But you can't come out here talking about no damn Rashidi Ellis, Cody Crowley. Hell, not even Ugas, man. Spence beat the hell out of Ugas. Mario Barrios. There's nobody there for him, man. There's absolutely no one for Terence Crawford to fight at 147 except really Keith Thurman. And Boots, but I'm saying Keith Thurman. And if he bubbles up to 154, now you're talking about, Zoo, which I think he beat Zoo, because Zoo's, again, just going to come straight at him. Crawford to tranquilize him. You got Smith who can fight. Mendoza, Fundora is about, 21 feet tall. Lubin, Ramos. So, again, man, and Jermell Charlo. So, again, in my opinion, I think Keith Thurman is the man. The man that Crawford really needs on his resume. He's not injured. He just needs to have a couple good fights. And then that's the name that Crawford needs. Nobody else has that name. He'll be the only one to have beaten Spence and Keith Thurman. And he talks about him not being a great fighter. And he talks about how Terence Crawford was fighting bums and basically had the titles given to him. Or he had injured guys in front of him. That will go away. Now, there'll still be people who complain about, Keith Thurman was inactive. Nah, man. Let me tell you something. And I get it, you can't make everyone happy. But I think Keith Thurman's name, I think his accomplishments, and I think what he brings to the ring, it carries more weight, and it would present some problems for Terence Crawford. Now, Terence Crawford may eventually catch up with him, but at the same time, Keith Thurman is a slick fighter. And let me look at something real quick, because we know when we're talking about the reach, right? We know Crawford has reached like 74 inches. But when we come and we look at, let me see something. Soto Caras. I don't know why it's not pulling up Soto Caras' name. That's crazy. Let me do it like this. Caras. Let me see if it just pulls it up this way. I want to know. I want to know just what kind of reach Karas had, because Karas was long and lanky like what's his name? Damn. Let me pull it up this way. It's not even pulling up on BoxRec. That's crazy. Oh, that's why, because it's Jesus. I'm out here. I didn't even put the man's first name is. That's what happened when they got all these damn hyphenated names and just totally confused the hell out of you. Jesus Soto. Now let's see if it pulls it up, because I'm interested to know what his. Oh, there it is, right there, man. All right, so yeah, let's pull him up. So, Jesus Soto Karas. There it is. His reach was 72 inches, and he was able to connect with Keith Thurman. Crawford has like a 74-inch reach. So what this tells me is Keith Thurman, who was able to knock out Karas, he was able to deal with someone who was about the same height, but Crawford's a little bit shorter, but had, an advantage in the area when it comes to reach. And I can show you what I'm talking about right here. So you can see right here, Soto Karas is about the same height as Keith Thurman on BoxRec, and he has a 3-4 inch reach advantage. So that tells me that Keith Thurman should be able to handle the reach of Terence Crawford. Now, skill set wise, that's a whole other thing if he can handle that. Plus, remember, Keith Thurman in the amateurs was fighting Demetrius Andrade, who's super long and lanky. So Keith Thurman knows he can handle himself. But that being said, man, we're going to see what happens with Terence Crawford. But it's just unfortunate that they just won't give him credit. But I think he definitely, if he's going to keep fighting, he definitely needs to put Keith Thurman's name on his resume. If not, it's always going to be a question about Terence Crawford and why he didn't fight Keith Thurman. And he'll give Keith Thurman a right to say, he was afraid to fight me. These boys are ducking me. Just go ahead, Terence Crawford. Fight Keith Thurman. If you knock him out, especially if you knock him out, let me tell you, it is not going to be a lot for people to say. Because that means Terence Crawford came up there and he got rid of Porter, got rid of Spence. Danny Garcia basically ran from him, and then he knocked out Thurman. So all he needs to do is go to 154 and knock out Danny Garcia. And then there should be no argument. But, Danny Garcia, he won't fight Terence Crawford. He don't want to get knocked out like that. That being said, y'all keep cool. What do y'all think? Terence Crawford need Keith Thurman? I say yes. Some say no. But I say if it's not Keith Thurman, who does he need? Some say nobody. I say no, if he's going to keep fighting, he needs someone. Because Canelo already said he's not fighting Terence Crawford. Jamel Charlo, who knows what happened with that? But outside of those two fights, what's there, money-wise, for Terence Crawford? Like, that's the real question. Who or what can this man fight? Outside of Canelo and Jamel, and they're already messing Jamel up by taking one of his belts. The other big name really is like Keith Thurman, then maybe Boots, but Boots got to grow his profile some more. But Keith Thurman, he's already there and established. Anyway, y'all keep cool, man. I'm about to go exercise. I'm in the breeze.